So just how effective is political advertising, and is indeed it time to regulate social media? Well, I'm joined now by Dr. Ashley Frawley from the University of Swansea and also Professor Leighton Andrews from the University of Cardiff. Good morning to both of you. Ashley, to you first. I mean, we were hearing from those teenagers in that report there who said, yes, I get all these political adverts all the time, but when they're asked which party was it from, they didn't know, they couldn't remember. So does it matter?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that the report you just showed ended with talking about the wisdom of young people. I mean, it's not really surprising that political parties would target young people, because it's become common knowledge that the older generation is just a lost cause. No one ever changes their mind. Democracy is basically pointless. So in order to solve any kind of problem or make some headway politically, you got to go to the younger generation. You got to go into schools. Like, how many social problems end with education? We need to educate the younger generation. And now everybody's surprised when political parties are trying to recruit young people.
So you think this should be clamped down on, do you, Ashley?
I think if we're going to be serious about leaving children and young people out of politics, we should be consistent about what we're saying. Like, look at Greta Thunberg. Everybody's, celebrating this young person who's like this unique sort of wisdom, who has this moral clarity, according to The Guardian, that isn't available to politicians. Well, either they've got moral clarity not available to adults, or they're vulnerable and impressionable. But you can't have it both ways.
What do you think, Leighton? Do you think that regulation has really missed a beat here?
Well, I think we've known since the EU referendum that online advertising, particularly on Facebook, is unregulated. There is no consistent pattern of regulation. And this illustrates one of the further problems. I doubt that the political parties themselves want to be spending money on people who are too young to vote. So that means that Facebook has to step up to the mark and explain why its algorithm is serving these advertisements to these young people. Just last week, the Information Commissioner issued a consultation on the regulation of data in political campaigning. I think the Information Commissioner will want to know more about what's going on here.
But isn't this part of the problem? I mean, there's a real lacuna in oversight, isn't there? I mean, you've got the Information Commission, they only handle personal data. You've got the Electoral Commission, they only handle financing of campaigns. And the Advertising Standards Agency, they don't do political ads. So where is this regulation going to come from?
Well, I agree with you that there is a patchwork of regulation at the moment, and that needs to be addressed. The Information Commissioner has taken the lead here, both on the use of data in political campaigning and indeed in protecting the abuse of data of young people online. So if I were you in Sky, I'd be talking to the Information Commissioner to get their views on what's going on here.
Yeah, OK. Well, our producers are frantically putting bids in as we speak. Ashley, what do you think is I know this is a longer term problem, but if we could introduce some new rules, some new laws tomorrow, what would you bring in?
I honestly think that the obsession with regulation is really a way of deflecting from the fact that today's political class has nothing to offer people. And so they're trying desperately to explain the fact that they are completely unable to galvanize the electorate on any issue. They just view people as idiots who are just so many problems to be administered to. Forget about their problems, forget about listening to them. They're just duped, And so we need to bring in these regulations, because otherwise dark forces are going to bring their minds over to the wrong side, and they're going to vote the wrong way. I mean, look at Donald Trump. Well, is it surprising that if you call the electorate a bunch of idiots, they don't vote for you? I think it's time that policymakers stop obsessing about regulation and start actually offering ideas that can excite people and actually listening to people and not calling them a bunch of fools who are easily duped.
So from what you're saying, do you think this has only become an issue that's gained some sort of traction because people just don't like the results that they've got, and therefore they're blaming the infiltration of the lesser regulated social media?
Absolutely. I mean, the so-called left gets so excited when young people speak up and start being the voice of politics. And then the conservatives start to try to talk to them too. And all of a sudden, oh no, this is something we can all get behind. Let's regulate Facebook so no ads get shown to them. I mean, it's quite clear that it's a fear of the fact that other people are going to do the same thing. Well, you can't use young people as mouthpieces and then in the same breath say, oh no, we should keep extreme views away from young people. Well, if you want to keep extreme extreme views away from young people. Maybe we should stop telling them that the world's going to end like tomorrow, and that the adult generation has stolen their future and so on. That's perfectly fine. But showing Tory ads on Facebook, all of a sudden we need to bring in regulations.
Leighton, we are heading, most people think, towards at least one, possibly two major democratic events, either another referendum, some people say, a general election, many people say. Do you think that there's been so much bandwidth taken up by the whole Brexit debate that we're sort of sleepwalking into this whole manipulation through social media affecting votes happening again ahead of one of those potential things?
Well, I don't think we should over-emphasize the influence of social media, but I do think social media needs to be regulated. And I believe that for a number of years, as do many others who are writing about these issues. And that's because at the moment, what social media is allowing, particularly Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, is they're allowing truckloads of disinformation to be driven through our existing electoral laws. You can say one thing on television, you can say one thing online, but you can't say it on television. You can say one thing online, it's unlikely you get called out about it in the way you get called out about it in newspapers. We have got to have a level playing field across all media that provides information to people seeking to vote.
OK, all right, good to talk to you both. Ashley Frawley and Leighton Andrews, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning on Sky News.
Thank you.